Yo, today we are going over the third book, and this book is called Mastery by Robert Greene. And a heads up, look, I'm not doing this with any script, any preparation. I'm just pressing record and I'm just going from start to finish. And it's all one take. I rarely edit. I never really edit it. Either I record it one take or I restart and I record it again in one take. But we will get into this first book, Mastery. I read this in 2020. The first 10, 15 of these books that I'm going through, I read in 2020. This book, I'll be honest, I didn't really remember much from it. I just remembered the three phases, which I'll go over. And that was the key thing I remembered from this book. And obviously, the other thing I remembered was the author's name, because Robert Greene has a lot of he has some great work, and I've read three of his books. I've read the 48 Laws of Power, I've read the 50th Law, and we'll go over those eventually. So I'm not going to go too astray with where this focus of this video is. This focus of this video is this book. So let me get started. I do have my actual writings here, so I don't, in case there's anything I can't see on there, but it's pretty clear. I'll be honest here. The iPhone scanning is so clear. Like, look at that. It's that's literally off my notes that I scanned the pictures. And so the introduction. Right, let's get into the start. So the first thing that is written is that this book is about sculpting your mind and life in the pursuit of mastery. I need to make sure I read this properly because it's a bit different than reading actual text. Like, I'm reading my handwriting. It's a bit different, but I'll get the hang of it. I've done it the other two books. And the next thing I wrote is becoming the best in your craft, emulating the best practitioners in all fields throughout history. So this book is really about mastering your field mastering whatever career you choose, whatever exactly, I'll say whatever career or field that you choose to pursue. It's about mastering that and being the best you can be in that area. And that's literally what the introduction really talks about. And again, this is not, a lot of this stuff isn't, I'll say it's 95% outside resources and 5% my own adjustments and things like that. So thank you to all of those that posted their stuff online in forms of articles and reviews, so people like me can access it and benefit off of it. So there's a quote from Van Gogh, I think it's Johann Wolfgang van Gogh, and he said the skill to mold the material into what we want must be learned and attentively cultivated. Oh, look, sorry about my reading, alright? I don't know why I'm reading so bad. Look, I don't have no clue. I have no clue I'm reading like this, but I said, so the skill to mold the material into what we want must be learned and attentively cultivated. What I take from this is that when you want to grow in something, when you want to grow in your field or career, you must be intentional about your progress and your improvement, and not leave everything up to chance, or leave some doors closed because you don't really want to go into it. You don't want to deal with the problems or the difficulties that may arise from actually putting 100% of your attention towards it and your effort towards it, and instead taking action and being very intentional about your learning and growing and growth. That's what I really take from this quote. It's a very good quote, and it shows that the man behind the quote is quite knowledgeable about how to mold, how to grow things. And so the next point I mentioned is that mastery is the feeling that we have a greater command of reality, other people, and ourselves. So yeah, that's his definition of mastery and what the book is about. Because mastery has other definitions. If you go to Google and if it's Webster, or whatever you're using. But it seems that when he mentions mastery, he mentions having control over your life and over your outcomes and things of that nature. The next part of this, I mentioned the 3 phases in this book, and this is the one thing I did remember from this book when I tried thinking about, before I read this whole recap, I tried to think, what can I remember about this book? Oh, I remembered the 3 phases. There are 3 phases, and here I mentioned the 3 phases being, the first one being apprenticeship, the next one being creative active, and the third being mastery. And it's 3 phases, and it's almost like a step-by-step process as to how to achieve the mastery that Robert Greene describes. And it's quite clear and easy. Sometimes a phase program or a step-by-step program is so easy to follow because you can see the steps that you need to take from the get-go. The broader picture, you can see it from the start. So I think it's quite an efficient way to get the message across and help the general public, with how they can start achieving this mastery that Robert describes. Right, so this is the last page. I wrote 2 pages on this. And this one, it seems to be more connected to things that he brought up in his book. And I'd seen this paragraph right before I pressed record. I had seen this paragraph and I read it and I was like, this is an ongoing thing I'm seeing with great authors that mention how to deal with forms of fear, doubt, resistance. I like to call it resistance. Ever since I've seen Stephen Pressfield mention in his book, which we'll go over in the next few coming books. I don't know what number exactly, but these authors mention these similar forms of resistance that we may face, that people face, and it shows a pattern. When you see a pattern in authors or if it's athletes or great minds, you should start to question, why is this a pattern? It means there's something of value here that I should look into and actually take heed on, this either warning or piece of advice. And this exact thing here, he says that the greatest danger is boredom, impatience, fear, and confusion. Once we stop learning and observing, the process towards mastery comes to a halt. Okay? And the point I'm talking about specifically is when he mentions the greatest danger is boredom, impatience, fear, and confusion. Now, confusion is a new one added to the list, which I rarely see I haven't seen as listed as a danger before, but it is a danger, when you think about it, because it can cause hesitation, which leads to mistakes that will arise. However, boredom, impatience, and fear, they're very, very common in the self-improvement, personal development side of the world, where those 3 are like of the top of problems that you will face along the way. And one of the things, it's like I said, like, heed the warning, so you know that what's ahead for you and what you could potentially avoid along the way. And he mentions that once we stop learning and observing, the process towards mastery comes to a halt. So mastery is about learning and observing and having a continuous desire to improve your knowledge and practice what you learn. And it shows that mastery is something that is good for your improvement in life, really. Because in life, when you want to improve your life and other people's lives, it shows that you have a very good life. And that's to my standard and to my religious standard as well. When I think about Islam, that's how I've kind of understood Islam to be about. You should constantly want to improve and maintain your standards and maintain your health and maintain everything in your life and have a desire to improve all of that. Okay, so the next paragraph, I say that I think I might just read from this. I might just read from my actual thing because I don't know what it is today. I just I don't know what it is. But I can't read off there right now. I can't do it. Let me just read off my book. But I say that you must connect or reconnect with your inclinations, that sense of uniqueness. It's easy to write, but it's hard to read. How am I supposed to read that in a form that makes sense? So I say that you must connect or reconnect with your inclinations, that sense of uniqueness. The first step then is always inward. You search the past for signs of that inner force or voice. This mentions the first phase, which is the apprenticeship phase, and what he gets at here is that you should try to begin with something that you are passionate about, something that is in line with your desires and your values and your morals, or all of those things, something that you enjoy doing that is of value to either you or the society that you're in. And when I mention society, I just mean that your community, your city, your country, the world. And that puts things it helps me put things into a perspective where I try to get away from giving advice to someone to do something negative and take the advice the wrong way. But I'm heeding that the benefit of society. Well, I'm making sure to make that the whole circle, make everything come back to that point. So as to avoid people taking things, taking all this knowledge the wrong way. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that whole dilemma in the comments. And he says you search the past for signs of that inner force or voice. So reflecting back on your childhood is a great way to understand about what is it that you enjoyed, or what is it that made you passionate. And that is something, a piece of advice of many that will come up as well, and that have already came up, that I agree with, and that I would say too. I would tell someone else, but it's one that I struggle to practice, and not necessarily because it's hard or anything, but because I haven't put any time towards it. But whenever I talk about it again, it makes me want to do it. So it's always good to mention it, even if I don't practice it. It's a great reminder to myself to do that in my own life. And I definitely, after this, I will hopefully consider it. Hopefully, remind me in the comments if I'll come back to this video sometime in the future and then I'll remember to go over this again. But I personally do need to reflect on my past, because a lot of things in my past I've shut out because of some bad experiences. So I've just had to kind of learn how to dull some things and forget. But it is important to kind of open up and look back in your past, and you'll find a lot of answers to questions you have today in your past. And that's one thing that I would definitely stand with, because it's something that I've had experience myself, where I've looked back on my own past, and for example, even in my recent years, going through my old journals and found some answers to questions I was having. And it's just a beneficial way. Your history is yours to learn from, and I'll leave it at that. Next, the goal of an apprenticeship is the transformation of your mind and character. All right, so the apprenticeship is the beginning of the change. Before you embark on this journey to mastery, you must transform yourself into that mold that you can create as you grow into mastery. So the apprenticeship is you painting that picture, is you starting off in that mental gym, or drawing that thing, or exactly painting that picture is a perfect example. So apprenticeship is you painting that picture for yourself so you can start that journey. Now this next paragraph is quite the long one, so I don't know if I'll break it down. I think I'll read it all in one go. Let's give it a shot. Often the greatest obstacle to our pursuit of mastery comes from the emotional drain we experience in dealing with the resistance and manipulations of the people around us. If we are not careful, our minds become absorbed in endless political intrigues and battles. Social intelligence is the ability to see people in the most realistic light possible. That's an interesting one with social intelligence, because I never really knew that was really a thing that I guess people considered, or Robert considered with his book, mentioning that the definition of it is kind of seeing people, like, how you had that saying, like, in my area people say, just see it how it is. You just see it for the real. You see that guy, how he acts. You just know how he is. That's based. Whatever he does, you just know that's him. That's the real. That's the kind of stuff people be saying. And he put it in his own way here, basically saying that you see people in a realistic light. I guess he's kind of means in an objective manner, that you're kind of a bit of emotional intelligence and seeing things for how they are, in that sense, meaning that you just see it in a way where you consider everything that you can in that situation, and understand that he acted or she acted this way in that reason. And again, this is something that's very subjective and leaves things up to discussion, and because everyone has their own social intelligence, own way of seeing the real, own way of seeing things how they are. But without getting too complicated or getting in our own heads too much about it, just focus on staying as calm as you possibly can, understanding that there are many things that come into play with a situation, and try to take a step back and consider the different perspectives. And I think that's a healthy way to kind of approach it. Now, to go back through this, because I kind of forgot what I even read. Okay, often the greatest obstacle to our pursuit of mastery comes from the emotional drain we experience in dealing with the resistance and manipulations of the people around us. I think I agree with this. I've felt this, because I know there'll be guys and girls reading this, watching this, men and women watching this, that also agree with this too, because I've had experiences where I've had dealings with people that have drained me of my time and energy, emotionally, to the point where I just kind of I haven't had the opportunity to work on myself, or do the hobbies I like doing that benefit me or other people, especially during my time during uni, and right before I went into uni. It happens, in life. You find yourself in situations where you deal with people that maybe they want the best for you, maybe not, but it doesn't come out that way, and it kind of it does, how he says it exactly. It drains you. Did you say drains you emotionally? Yeah, so drains you emotionally, dealing with them and dealing with what they want from you, and dealing with how they treat you, and dealing with how they show their gratitude or not any gratitude towards you, And I think I'm gonna leave that there, because I don't want to get too into it and just kind of just talk my way around things and over talk on this matter. I say in the next part, he says that if we are not careful, our minds become absorbed in endless political intrigues and battles. And that's exactly what I was about to lead to right now. Just an endless discussion of how emotional drain happens, and what scenarios and all of that. Try not to, message to you, Sammy, and a message to everyone that is watching, try not to get too involved in your own mental battles. I would say that if you think a lot, try think less and act more. Fill up your time with actions rather than with more thoughts, because I saw this one quote. It said that, and I'm gonna end it here. All right. It said that if you're an overthinker of some sort, more thoughts lead to more thoughts. You know, it doesn't lead to more action. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.